Hello, everyone. Hi, Angela. Hi. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. The thunderstorms have not come through yet, so that's good. It was a little chilly today, though, don't you think? I think so. Anyway, here we are on another Wednesday night. Gonna have some fun together. I do want to talk about Paper Pumpkin for just a moment. I have a couple of things to show you. And of course, there's one of them. This was the May Paper Pumpkin. And as a reminder, they do come with their name on the end and the month and year. This particular one is Hugs from Shelley. It's not available any longer, but I did want to show you that occasionally there are very special, hi Quana, very special kits that get created. Last year there was one from Sarah Douglas, who is the CEO. This one is done by her mom, Shelley Gardner. Wanted to show it to you because I think this is quite lovely and shows how much improved these are, meaning Paper Pumpkin. So this particular stamp set has lots of images, and images that you'll be able to use again, birds and flowers and feathers, and some generic types like thank you and hello and things like that. Now the cards are not the standard size that we're used to here in the States, but they are quite pretty. So you get the different card bases, and I can tell you that I watched a video where when Sarah works with the when Shelley works with the concept artists, she has the same restrictions that anyone else does as far as, you know, what can go in the kit, how much can go in the kit, and all of that. But this particular one is delightful. So you get your coordinating envelopes. You get some baker's twine. You get some of the feathers. Isn't that cool? It's like a colored vellum. And speaking of colored vellum, there's going to be colored vellum in the new annual catalog. It's quite lovely. Oh, good job, Angela. 4 kits. Good job. Yay. And then, of course, all the little pieces that go with it. There are a lot of alternatives out on Pinterest and all sorts of other places. This time, the spot was Early Espresso. So I just wanted to share that with you quickly. A lot of people are coloring in the nest, especially the little bird's eggs. Most of the ones I've seen appear to be robins, just so you know. So this is a very special kit that Shelley helped design. The June kit is going to be something new and different as well. This particular one is going to be a group of small cards that you can use as little note cards, or maybe put it with a gift or something like that. And you need to subscribe by June 10th in order to get this particular one. And how do you subscribe, you might ask, right? Well, of course, you can go out to my normal store, janetmuse.stampinup.net. You can also get to my store by going through my website, thecraftymuse.com. You can go to Shop Now and get out to that same site I was talking about. Quana, you're funny. My box just recently got open, just so you know. I've been watching all the samples that have been going on. Okay, so that's enough about Paper Pumpkin. We talk about it almost every time, but it really is nice. The feedback, I won't call it a complaint, but the feedback I've received is that when they are not full-size cards, um, people are a little bit disappointed. But if you look around, you will see that there are tons and tons of samples where people have cut up those cards that I just showed you and used them on a full-size card. So there's so many alternatives. But I guess we should go ahead and get started, right? The new catalog, June 4th, right? Creativity's calling, don't forget. So how about we get started with our man card. So these are the colors for June, by the way. Coastal Cabana, Old Olive. Look at this, I can actually put them away. Isn't that exciting? As I tell you about them. And Crumb Cake. So it's going to be, I think, a really good set of colors to use. Okay. Thanks, Quana, about my shirt. So this is the card we're going to make tonight. What I wanted to do was use one of the bundles that will no longer be a bundle in the upcoming catalog, but you can get it now together at the 10% savings. After June 4th, you can still buy the individual parts, but they won't be 10% off anymore. So this is a nice, simple Father's Day card is what this is right here. But here on the card, it just says, all geared up to celebrate. So I just happened to make it a Father's Day card inside. But of course, you could put anything inside, any occasion to celebrate, which, you know, is pretty much every day, right? Okay, so let's do this real quickly. Some of the tips I want to talk about. You can see that I've used Very Vanilla. And what I've done is used Very Vanilla behind the Designer Series paper because I really wanted it to pop and still get the bang out of the designer paper. I also used the copper foil, which I think is just really fun. Interestingly enough, the Very Vanilla that I used, I buy Whisper White and Very Vanilla in 12 by 12, as well as 8.5 by 11, of course. But the reason I buy the 12 by 12 is so many of our layers are 4 by 5.25, and so I can get 6 pieces out of it very, very easily. And I find that easier to cut up into the first, I guess you call that the first layer, and of course for the inside as well. So that's why I buy the 12 by 12 a lot of times. Now this paper looks pretty masculine, but ironically, it is what I refer to as the B-side of something in Petal Promenade, whichever way you want to say it. So when we look at this, we think that it's pretty ordinary looking, right? But it is part of the Petal Promenade Designer Series paper. And we used this a couple weeks ago for something. I made the front of my envelope. I used this as the, speak of the devil, I used one of these cutouts as the label for the front so you could address. So hopefully you remember us making this, I don't know, a few weeks ago. So of course the paper is just beautiful. Hi Patricia. This particular one is the one I used on this card, is the flip side of this set of frames. So even though the set, the pack of paper, is mostly flowers, the B side, I think, in this particular set is just amazing and will have lots of uses. Now, of course, it will retire. I do have some packages of my own that once June 4th comes, I will be trying to sell those. So if you don't get an order in before June 4th and you'd like to get this paper again, give me a holler. So let's get that out of the way. Also, when you read the Petal Promenade color chart, meaning all the colors that coordinate with it, you'll get things like, hey Paula, you'll get things like Grapefruit Grove, right? So you know here on the packaging, it tells you what the colors are that coordinate. One of the colors that is not showing on here, but I'm using it tonight, is Cajun Craze. So don't let the packaging, restrict your creativity, because these, I think, go quite well together. So anyway, just thought I'd share that. So Cajun Craze, Petal Promenade paper, the copper foil, and very vanilla. So pretty simple. I've already cut out the pieces. I made this card fold this way. So it's still an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, cut in half. It's just cut lengthwise. Scored at 5.5 like we always do. Well, I guess we always do, but when we're doing a standard card, we do. Then the first layer, or the first two layers, I wonder how you would describe that. So is the very vanilla the first layer, or is the designer paper? I'm going to go with that. The very vanilla is the first layer. What I did here, and this is why I was able to get a lot of the work done in advance. This is your typical edge. It is popped up with dimensionals, and I usually use 6 dimensionals in this scenario. The reason I do that is I don't want the center to dip at all. So that's how I do my dimensionals on this layer. Okay, come on, you can come off of there. Okay. So of course it doesn't matter what direction it's going because there's no true pattern to it. I already cut the gears out, so I want to show you now the bundle that I was talking about. This particular set of dies comes with, wow, I didn't make glasses again, 14 dies and this stamp set. Now, it's geared towards Dad, of course. Happy Father's Day, best dad. But there's other things obviously going on here. You have the gas can, you have some nuts, which if I had a squirrel stamp, I'd probably do something with these nuts. But anyway, you also have a toolkit, toolbox. So I can imagine if someone, for example, bought an old fixer-upper house and you wanted to say congratulations on your new home, you might be able to use that somehow. But like I said, right now, you can get these as a bundle. After June 4th, you have to buy them individually. These are all the framelits that come with it. Excuse me, dies, new word, new terminology. So the car has its own, the toolbox, the gas can, this best dad sentiment, this happy Father's Day. There's this cute little, I think this one's really cute, but it's just me. It looks like a hood ornament to me. And the one it coordinates with says, "You jumpstart my heart." So there's all sorts of fun things going on. Plus you get all these little gears here. So this particular one is all together. And that is the one that I cut out of the copper foil. I have to tell you that because this is a very detailed die, this is one of those occasions where you do want to use the precision plate. And I know a lot of people don't like to use it because depending upon how often you use it and that kinds of things, you can get some warping in your plastic these things. Uh-oh, technical difficulties. So I keep some like this that are all scratched up and already bent. And these are the ones that I use when I'm using the precision plate. I also use wax paper a lot because it helps get out the tiny pieces and things like that. Quana, I hope that doesn't mean that I've lost you. Anyway, these gears here, I put them down by just putting little dots of Tombow because it doesn't take a lot. And even though it does dry clear, I really don't like for it to ooze out the sides too much. So I just kind of do these little dabs all around. You could also use the glue dots. So instead of dots of glue, you could use glue dots. So I'm going to set this off, let this dry, and we are now going to take care of the car and the stamping on the inside as well. I'm going to set this off upside down. I'm going to put something on top of it and just let it dry like that. This surface is plastic, so it can definitely let go of it once I decide to turn it back over. Thank you, Angela. Cutting plate. Whew. Wow. Where do those words go when you need them, right? Okay, so let's talk about how I created the car. I did use my Stamparatus for parts of this. Okay, but the first thing I did is I stamped off, I used Cajun Craze, and it's probably a little hard to see, but the car is behind the sentiment there. But I did not want it to take over the sentiment, so I did stamp off, and I did play around with this a couple of times and decided to let go of quite a bit of the ink. "1001, 1002. Yay, Quana, you're back. Did you lose me or did I lose you?" Anyway, so it's nice and light so that now I can do the sentiment over top. The reason I used the Stamparatus for the sentiment is I knew I wanted it to be pretty dark, but stamping just once was not going to make that happen. So I set it up. For most of you have probably seen me do this before. What I did is I went ahead and stamped onto a piece of plastic, relatively clear plastic. This particular one went with the Stamp-A-Majig, but you can use window sheets, you can use anything. Oh, that's too bad, Quanah. Well, hopefully we won't lose you again. So I did the image. Then what I do is I know where it's going to stamp, so I don't move the stamp any longer. And I put whatever I want to stamp on underneath. And then I can line up exactly where I would like the sentiment to go. Now, once I do that, I do have to use my magnets. But because, I don't know where my other one went, I try to keep them, you know, far apart so they don't slam into each other. Sometimes I lose them that way, but that's okay. So what this does for me is I now can stamp in the exact same place. I'm a little nervous about not having the other magnet. But hey, we're going to go for it. We're going to be brave, not worry about it. So stamp it once. And like I said, we know that it's not dark enough, and you can see that I got it quite dark on the actual card. So I'm just going to keep inking and stamping. And remember to keep something under the plate so that you don't bend or crack it or whatever. It just makes it easier. So I think one more time might do it. So there we go. So now we've used the same ink pad, but by stamping it 3 times, we got that darker color that I was looking for. Okay, I'm going to get that one out of our way because we're going to work on the inside now. Yeah, I'm going to clean it because I have visions of my my Crafty shirt getting ink on it. When you cut out the car, people would tell you that you can use the magnetic plate, which is true, magnetic platform, which is absolutely true. I'm going to do both. I'm going to, when I cut it up, I'm going to use the magnetic plate platform, and I'm going to use a Post-it note, because unless you have a really, really clean plate, the magnets aren't perfect. So that is the tip, though. Keep a really nice, clean set of cutting plates, and then your magnetic platform will work much better. But before we go there, let's go ahead and get the inside stamped. Now, the inside is the 4 by 5 1/4 that we've already talked about. And I showed you earlier, I did use the Happy Father's Day. I wanted to have a little bit of color behind the sentiment. So I did use the splotchy stamp out of here. I have to tell you, I've seen this splotchy stamp used most often in putting mud under the little pigs. Have you guys seen that? This little piggy? And they do this in brown. It looks like the pigs are in mud. It's excellent. It's very creative on somebody's part. Now I want to stamp off again because I want this to be really light. And you're thinking, well, how can you stamp off using the Stamparatus? Well, that's what scrap paper's for. You don't have to move anything. Just slide your scrap paper in there. Nice and light. So now my sentiment will be a lot darker and show up just like on the front. Same concept. We're going to stamp it multiple times in the same place. Ooh, bad Janet, didn't put anything under there. And obviously, you can see that I set this up in advance. If I were making a lot of these, for let's say I wanted a whole ton of masculine birthday cards, this is how I would go about it. I would use the Stamparatus. Yeah, those little pigs are adorable, and they're in the upcoming new catalog. So there's the inside. I love the Stamparatus. So I'm going to set that aside. I am going to clean. When you get the new catalog, you're going to see this new tool for cleaning stamps. This works really well on the photopolymer. So we're not using photopolymer tonight, but I did want to show it to you. It's small, like the size of Memento or something like that, but it's a totally different solution, I guess is the right word. But we'll get into that more next week, probably. So we can get these out of our way. We do have to cut out our car, though. This sheet that I have the dies on right now, this is a sheet purchased from some external company. I'm not sure who it is. But this is how I would keep track of the different dies, like at class or something like that. When I put them away, I'm actually going to store them on the same piece of paper that they were adhered to when I got them. But I use vent covers. I don't know if you've seen these or not, but you can get these Home Depot, places like that, and they're intended to be put on your registers or your vents in your home to cover up and take care of any I don't know, leaks. Anyway, that's what I use, and I actually just cut it using my guillotine cutter. So it's nothing fancy. I'm able to measure the card as it started out. If there's a whole bunch of little pieces, that's why this side is covering the whole thing, whereas the other side will be, wow, where'd that come from? Excuse me. So this one will be on the side all by itself, whereas all the smaller pieces will go back on this piece. But anyway, so here's our car. Just thought I'd share that with you. Here's our car. We are going to use the magnetic plate. Like I said, we will use a Post-it note on it. I don't know if you guys remember from last week, but once we are dealing with all the new dies from the new manufacturer, the new manufacturer starting with the 2019 Ace Hardware. I love Ace Hardware. I get so much stuff there. You'll see that the new dies will match up perfectly right up against the edge of your stamped image. So see, this is a case where the magnetic plate is not being my friend at all. But if you turn your die in a different direction, because remember the magnets are all along the edge and there's multiple of them. But at any rate, I think you get the idea. The Post-it notes, it's unfortunate that we have to use them, but it's not that big a deal, I don't think. Okay. course, I just wiped out my, this is a really bright color, isn't it? Wow, okay. All right, let's hope I got it right. So it's your normal sandwich. I really should get out my like brand new cutting plates so you guys think I'm, you know, just awesome. But in reality, these are the ones I work with when I'm working on my own. In class, you might see some brand new ones because they do make things a lot easier. Right, so now we have our car. I don't know if you've ever done it, but a lot of times the negatives of some of these things work great for like sponging, washi tape that you don't like. That's a good idea. Or washi tape that just needs to go away. That's kind of my experience. Okay, so we're going to bring back in where we started. What I was saying was you can use these negatives and sponge and kind of get a shadow. I don't know if you've ever done that. Maybe we'll do that coming up here in the next few weeks. Once again, I'm popping up the car. And one reason for popping it up is I think it sort of gives it a feel of motion. And I may be, you know, reading too much into it, but that's kind of what it does for me. Now, believe it or not, I would consider this a pretty simple card. The hardest parts are using the dies and all of that. But I think it's relatively simple. What I did, though, is rather than waste designer series paper scraps, right? Because, you know, we love it. What I did was just put a few of them, a few of the gears. Remember the gears? I cut them all out, and that's the piece you were seeing earlier that had all the things cut out of it. That has now disappeared. But I just cut out a bunch of them all at one time, and that's what's kind of fun about the little pieces. Fortunately, these are not tiny pieces. They're just small, so they're pretty easy to keep track of. But I am going to put the inside piece in first. And if you are having trouble getting things to line up so you have the same edge, my trick is to always use the long edge, and I know how much it should be, and that's how I get it pretty close most of the time. And then finally, just a couple of the gears. Now you guys do know about my the rule of 3. That is supposedly the most pleasing to the senses, is to do things in 3s. So whenever you see me do embellishments, I normally will do 3. Last week I broke my rule and did 5 rhinestones. It's like, oh my, even my husband pointed out that I had broken my own rule. But there we go. So pretty simple card, pretty easy to turn it into a celebration of anything, not just Father's Day. This card will probably be, or one of them at least, will probably be from Larry. So don't, for Larry, don't tell him though. It'll be from Doak and Dixie. And of course, Dixie is always geared up to celebrate, as long as it involves a tennis ball. So do you have any questions about anything? We talked about using wax paper. We talked about using the precision plate when you have a delicate die like this one. Talked about looking at the B side of the designer series paper, because there's lots of hidden gems on the B side. Okay. Whoops. Oh, wrecking things. So that's really all I wanted to talk about. Yeah, you always send a card from Doak and Dixie. It's a rule. So that's really all I wanted to talk about, because I'm getting really excited about the new catalog. I actually have not purchased much yet. You saw last week, you saw one of the ones that I did buy that I really like. It was the flowers. We did the floating frame card with it. That was a good time. If you didn't see that one, you can probably see it on YouTube right now. One of the things I'm trying to do, just so you know, is I am trying to go back and anything that I've recorded previously, I'm trying to download it from Facebook and put it out onto YouTube, because eventually it's very difficult to find on Facebook, whereas in YouTube it'll stay out there. So I am working on that. That does take a little bit of time. Bought a new computer to help me with that. It's a lot faster than my old one. So you will be seeing more of that. I also am using my Blogspot as a place to put cards that I'm making along with the products that I'm using. The products that I'm using, so that you can get a general idea of how the card was made. And I'm doing that. I will be doing that on this card, for example. Eventually, what you'll be able to do is go out to thecraftymuse.com, and out there on the front home page, you will see a place that you can click on that'll take you over to the blog spot where I've put these different instructions and products and things like that. So I hope you find that helpful. I am always looking for ideas on things to do on Wednesdays, so feel free to send me a message. I am having a lot of fun, a lot of new likes on Facebook. So thank you all for sharing things so that people are coming back to me. I appreciate that. And I am going to sign off for now, unless there's some questions. Oh, so you can't order again till July. Wow. I'll probably order next week, but who knows? Who knows? I finally did order some things from the premiere, so we'll see. Also, all you demonstrators out there, I think some of us ladies are going to go to Las Vegas again for the on-stage local. That's in November 16th. So keep that in mind. If you are a demonstrator, we'd love to have you come with. If you're not a demonstrator, we'd love to have you join up so that you can come with. Okay. Everyone take care of yourselves out there, and I look forward to talking to you again. You too, Quana. You have a great night as well. Bye, everybody.